Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. This is the Claims Adjuster Workshop, March of 2023. Thank you so much for joining. And again, I want to say thank you to our panelists here. We have on our panelist board the wonderful and marvelous Deanna Purifoy. Ladies first. No shade, gentlemen, but ladies first. Deanna Purifoy, she will give her story. Excuse me, and I'm saying the name wrong already. I forgot the hyphenated. Lord have mercy. Please forgive me, Miss Deanna. Please forgive me. And Mr. David, because you know we love him. That is a
For sure.
Mrs. Deanna Purifoy. Long, excuse me so much. And she's gonna tell her story when her time comes up. And then we have Mr. Che Muse.
Hello.
And he's going to tell his story. Che and I have actually been adjusting, I think, for the same amount of time. We met during one of our first deployments. I think my second deployment, technically. It might have been his first. I'm not sure. He's going to tell his
My
story.
first, yeah.
Say that again, Muse.
That was my first.
That was your first? Okay, it was
Yep.
technically my second. And then we have Dwight Edwards, who's going to tell his story as well. And of course, Diane Parker, she is working on getting logged in right now. So she'll be in here soon. And what a lot of folks don't know is Diane Parker and I are actually related. That is my auntie. That is my mama's sister, y'all. And I love her so much. Deanna and Dwight was actually trained by TPAS. They started off with us by way of a friend of theirs, by word of mouth, right? And that's how they got started in, and they came to the class. And look at them now. I'm just so proud about it. I can't even call you guys my adjuster babies anymore. Because remember, I used to call they're not my adjuster babies, even though everybody is older than me. It's okay. You'll always be my babies to me. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to get started. First, we'll talk a little bit. We'll go back and forth between reading through our adjuster career information packet and hearing from our panelists. Okay. So I want to make sure that, again, you can get a copy of the adjuster career info packet and read it on your own. So I'm going to try to work through that as quickly as possible because I really, really want this time segment that we have together to be about our panelists here and their experiences and their story and what, how they got into this, why they're sticking with it, what it has done for them and their families in changing their lives, becoming more economically stable, feasible, viable, all of the above. And so, with that said, let's get started. So, I'm going to share a document with everyone here, and it is as I said before, our adjuster career information packet. And what we're going to do is go through this. So, you're here because you're curious about becoming an insurance claims adjuster. You heard about it. You may even know somebody who's already into it and already doing it. You may have saw something that I put out on Facebook or that our company TPAS LLC, which by the way, I am the founder, president, and CEO of. If I did not introduce myself, which I don't think I did, my name is Charlene Hoskins. Nice to meet you. So yeah, you may have seen something out there that you were like, what's this all about? Oh, I think my people's are making good money, or I heard something about this. What do I do? And so the thing is, there might be, there's something in this that is piquing your curiosity. It may be the money. Okay. I think for a lot of us, it was the money when we started off, let's be honest. But the money is not what's going to keep you staying in this industry. Okay. The money is what's going to guarantee your longevity. It's going to be you, your why, your work ethic, and your own personal motivation. Okay. Because like I tell people all the time when I train them and they come to our licensing class, eventually you're going to get tired of making the money. So let's get started. Ready to be an insurance adjuster? All right. So this is a career opportunity that is actually hidden in plain sight. It's one of the best jobs that you've never heard about. And I mean, I know I'm speaking for myself, but I'm sure I can speak for my panel when I say, yeah, we should have known about this a long time ago. We should be be learning about this career opportunity in college. And unfortunately, we are not. Most of us don't find out about it until later on in our years and age or whatever. I had the pleasure of being able to become an insurance claims adjuster when I was 25 years old, just by happenstance as a result of Hurricane Katrina. So if you're considering a career in insurance, it's actually a good choice. What you don't know is that our industry is in the middle of what we call a talent gap crisis. I know that we have an issue with all the industries across the board, especially after COVID, where we have individuals seeking more work-life balance. And because of that, there is for hire signs everywhere. But this has been going on with the insurance industry since way before COVID. We have been going through this talent gap crisis. I would estimate when I first heard about it was maybe about 6 or 7 years ago. And so I'm giving you some old stats here, and this is based on the statistics that were given out prior to COVID. But back in 2018, they said that the prediction is our industry needed to fill 400,000 positions by 2020. Well, we already know what happened in 2020, right? So I'm sure that the talent gap got even greater as a result of COVID. So this is because we have more people retiring than we have people coming into the industry. There are even pushes now to recruit individuals coming out of college, so forth and so on. And unfortunately, there isn't per se a degree in insurance or insurance claims handling. Even there's not even a degree to be an actuary or an underwriter. It just doesn't exist. Okay, so I think that's a lot of times why a lot of people just don't know about it. So even though the lowest annual mean wage of the top 4 insurance career paths, which are actuary, agent, claims adjuster, and underwriter, it is $63,500. That is still 25% higher than the annual mean wage of all U.S. occupations combined, which if we combine all U.S. occupations, that means everyone from a fast food worker to a top lawyer. We combine all of those and get that median wage, it's 47,230. So careers in insurance are very, very lucrative. And so the last statistic that came out that was most recent was that they are forecasting there's going to be over 1 million job openings through 2030, just to give you an idea of the industry itself as a whole. Okay, so in addition to highly competitive salaries, insurance industry jobs are stable because insurance is often required institutionally, as with car or home ownership and mandated health insurance. Insurers also provide many career advancement opportunities. Okay, yeah, because the industry is wide open now. So I even know of adjusters who come through TPAS, for instance, and they decided, hey, I got to go staff, I got to stay home with family, whatever the case may be. And now within a year, they went from kind of taking a pay cut. One gentleman, Byron McGee, he started off with like just a regular kind of claims customer service job, working for staff at about $30,000 a year. And a year later, after that, through his work ethic, again, motivation, drive, ability to be a team player, ability to be moldable, teachable, right? He is now a manager in his insurance organization that he's in. And he's actually not just over one office. They're currently building a second office for him to be over. And he now makes close to $100,000 a year as a salary staff in claims professional. So just to let you know, there's lots of opportunity and lots of room to move around here. Okay. Now, let's talk about your introduction to insurance claims adjusting. So the career in insurance claims adjusting is a smart decision when you're selecting a new path. The popular opinion of insurance is that it is necessary, yet few know of the many opportunities. Adjusters are a key component to the viability of an insurance company. It is through the work of the adjuster that a client's trust and confidence in their insurance policy is fortified. You don't know how good that policy is until you have a claim, and you don't know how good it is until your experience with the adjuster during that claims process, right? So you must successfully complete a pre-licensing course and exam to become a licensed adjuster. And we do offer a pre-licensing course. We also offer additional continuing education courses as well for adjusters to enhance their skill sets, their knowledge, and their aptitude. Now, we were founded actually in 2011. I have been an adjuster since Katrina 2005, and I noticed that we just didn't have enough training for adjusters, and that's where my idea to create TPAS came from. It actually didn't even start off with classes. It started off with a book on called You're an Adjuster Now What? The Desk Adjuster, or excuse me, the Inside Adjuster Guide. Okay, so I have been working, bouncing back and forth between being a field adjuster where I actually went out and inspected roofs and homes, and working in an office. And just through all those different experiences and deployments that I had, I was like, man, this is not enough. So the book came out of that, and then the trainings came later on. So between myself and the instructors that we have on staff, we have over 30 years of experience as claims adjusters, and we are experts in our field. One of our adjusters is actually my mother, Deborah Johnson. And the cool thing about her is that she's an expert contents adjuster. And that is a very rare skill in our industry, believe it or not. A lot of people know about the structure and construction of a house, and they can do those claims. But not a lot of adjusters out there want to handle the personal property aspect of claim handling, which is everything inside somebody's home, right? So what does a claims adjuster do? Well, as a claims adjuster, you are an employee of the insurance company or what we call an independent adjusting firm that is employed by, or excuse me, that the insurance company contracts with necessarily. So they have enough staff adjusters. They have those on staff, right? Your big insurance companies, the big names out there. But the thing is that those individuals do get overwhelmed with their claims. When they do, those claims are outsourced to a third-party vendor, which we call independent adjusting firms. And that's where the independent adjuster comes in. So a lot of our panelists, actually, some of us are still independent adjusters. Some of us started off as independent and now they are staff. And so again, when we hear their story, you're going to hear more about how they got there. So some of those roles and responsibilities are involving the duties that are involving, you got to interview the claimant or the policyholder or the insured, right? You got to get the information on the damages. You may have to talk to witnesses. Say if it's a car accident, you may have to obtain a police report or hospital records. You may have to visit them in the hospital to get the information about what happened at that particular car accident, or they may have become sick as a result of this tornado that tore their house up, and this is the only place they're still healing. They might have a broken leg, and you may have to work with them in that capacity to work through the claim process. You may have to inspect the property. Again, there's so many different avenues that you can go into in adjusting. A lot of times people think insurance adjuster, I got to go out and I got to hop on a roof. Not necessarily. You could be an insurance adjuster for property, for instance, for homeowners, and be a desk adjuster where you either work from home or you report to someone's office somewhere in the country. You can be a field adjuster and be a field adjuster locally in your area and set your own schedule, or you can be a field adjuster and do catastrophe claims where you travel and go to wherever the damage is and work out those claims that way. Okay, so there's a lot of different, and I'm being very brief, but there's a lot of different areas that you can go into with this. So don't pigeonhole yourself or tell yourself, oh no, I can't do it then. We're not going for that. Okay, so adjusters can handle property claims involving damage to buildings and structures. They can also handle what we call liability claims for damages or injuries caused by things like motor vehicle accidents, slip and falls, dog bites, negligent behavior. Okay, there was even, for instance, everyone knows about the BP spill, right? There was a huge flux of adjusters that went out and worked the BP spills, and there was nothing that they really did. And Shay Muse can probably tell you a little bit about that. But there was really nothing that they really did but sat around and waited for the fishermen, so to say, who were affected because they couldn't fish and their livelihood was affected, to come into an office and send in invoices saying, yeah, this is what I used to make, and cut them a check. And they got paid anywhere between $1,000 to $1,500 a day to do that. So again, all these different avenues that you can go into, so don't cut yourself short. So with that said, I am going to give up the mic, so to say, to our lovely first panelist, Mrs. so I can get it right.
Get it right, girl.
Mrs. Deanna Purifoy Long. Deanna, please, everybody give Deanna a beautiful, warm welcome. And let me pause my share here so it freezes. And actually, let me stop it. We want Deanna to have the full attention of the room, you all, and she deserves it. So, Deanna, please introduce yourself. Talk about how you got started. I cannot remember anymore which licensing class you came through, what year,
Ooh.
but just give us a little bit of your story.
Yes, so Deanna Pureplay Long here. So I actually, we had a family reunion, and it was my first time meeting, was it Jasony? And so she was telling us about her husband being a claims never heard of it before. So I think it was 2016. I just, reached out. She sent me the website, and then my husband and I came to St. Louis, trained. Um, and I was working in Michigan at the time for Blue Cross Blue Shield customer service. And TPOS trained us like, look, you gotta get on once you're done, you get on every list you can, do your resume, just, took us through the whole gamut. So of course we got our checklist ready because we were ready to deploy like soon as we got done. Ladder, just the whole everything we needed. Definitely nervous. Finally got the first call through. We got our first call, my husband and I, through Pilot. Once we got a call through Pilot, we had never. We were just talking about this the other day. We had never climbed a roof. Never, just. I mean, probably never read a policy. I'm just gonna be honest, thoroughly. But Chicago with Pilot really, they threw us in the fire, and we got it. We got it. They trained us well. We got it. And we had a couple deployments after that. I decided to, I got a little roof scared. So I decided I decided to do field. I went staff for a company, a large company in Michigan, and field. And did that for about 3 years. And it was just I didn't have to climb roofs. I just had to do single family homes, real minor things. It wasn't a large loss, but that was through AAA. Did that for about 3 years, and now I'm a senior um, specialist adjuster through USAA, where I specialize in litigation, liability, earthquakes, sinkholes, uh, AOBs for Florida, identity theft. So, and I'm desk working from home. Um, Definitely hit the 6 figure mark. And so I've been in it 6 years. Absolutely love it. Absolutely love my job. I would have, if I never would have talked to Jeff that day, I wouldn't have known it even exists. But that's where I am.
Hold on, I was on mute. So, Deanna,
Yes, ma'am.
that's how you got started.
Mm-hmm.
And then what she's not saying is that her husband also got into it as well.
Yes, we did.
And so when you guys both started off, did you start off in the field or did you start off in at the desk?
Field.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And how did you like that?
It was exciting. Like I said, I'd never been on a roof before. So I go with my manager. He knew I was a newbie. He was like, "Oh, just come on, let's go." And he was very patient. He was like, "Just go on up there." And going up was easy. Yeah, it was the getting down that was the problem.
Right.
But after after you swing that leg and you get off that roof, it was just every time I would go and pull my ladder, people was like, "You gonna get on that roof?" Yeah, it's just became
Hmm. I'm
second.
on it.
Once you hit that first one, and it's just it became easy, and I actually loved it.
Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent. So let me ask you this. When it comes to the money,
Mm.
what was it that made you stay, right? Because you, David, and yourself, you already, you know, lived your life, so to say. You had your career, you had the things that you've done, right? And what was it about this that, of course, attracted you to it, but then what made you stay and stick with it?
Because once you got it, you got it. It was easy.
Mm-hmm.
It was easy. It was because I mean, you read a policy is there in black and white, you know. Um, it just became it. I can't ever say that my job was hard and grueling. It was just once you mastered it, it was like, okay, I can do this for money. You know, it was easy. So that's
Mm-hmm.
why I stuck with it. And two, it was it's such a demand, you know. It was such a demand. I just, you know, even though I have a master's degree, it was still a I could go and get a job anywhere, you know, any insurance company. They always have positions open for adjusters. So
Mm-hmm.
it was like recession proof. Another thing, that was another thing too, is when
Mm-hmm.
I was looking for a job, I kind of wanted something that could withstand, because even though COVID happened, we were still working.
Mm.
So it was a recession proof job. And um layoffs, I haven't, you know, haven't experienced any of that. So that was one of the reasons.
Hold on, wait, pause.
Hmm.
We had a whole thing that just happened in
Hmm.
2020
Hmm.
and basically went from 2020 respectively to 2022, where a lot of people lost their jobs and got laid off.
Hmm.
The C word, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're telling me that you didn't lose your job?
No, ma'am.
Mm.
No, ma'am.
A lot
I
of people
just
don't
went
know
and
this.
we just had to, when you go in somebody's house, tell them to leave or, you know, or mask up and you go and do your inspection and leave.
Mm-hmm.
Or you do it with them virtually.
Mm.
Yes. Through
So
claims
a lot of people don't
experience.
realize this. What I'm hinting to, and what Deanna is expanding on, is again, like we were kind of reading, because the insurance industry touches every other industry. And because there's always something, even in the midst of something like a worldwide pandemic, right? There is still Mother Nature out there tearing things up. There are still accidents that are happening. And so as a result, you still need a claims professional, claims adjuster to address those losses, to address those accidents. And so respectively, what ends up happening is our industry is recession proof. The whole world would have to end, honestly. Correct? There would have to be a worldwide, and probably still there'll probably be some companies still surviving. Like I need my I want to make a claim. Anybody there? I want to
Yeah.
make a claim for my damages. Anyone there? Okay.
Yeah.
So that's another beautiful thing about getting into this and getting into this industry. The fear of, oh, I'm gonna lose my job, or oh, they're gonna restructure the company and cut my department out. It really doesn't exist. It really doesn't. And I'll tell you this, does, as far as staff concerned, and of course Deanna and Dwight, you can tell me more about this, but even with staff, because there's so many different insurance companies, even if they decide, for instance, to say, okay, we're going to go in a different direction, and this is what we're going to do this instead. Most of the time, especially if you're a good employee, they'll find a place for you. Or you could just move over to another company, right?
Go back to being an IA.
Or go
Always.
back, listen, or
That
go
option is
back to
always
being
there.
an independent adjuster.
Always
So
there.
always there, always something you can bounce back on, right? So Deanna, tell me a little bit about how you transition from being starting off as an independent adjuster, and then when was the decision made to say, you know what, we like the independent thing, we're having fun, but I want to go staff now.
Hmm. Oh, I slid off a roof. So
Well, that'll do it.
it was a wrap. It was like I skinned my knee and I was just like, yeah. So I started seeking out um really desk positions because I heard they existed. I didn't even know that desk adjusters existed. And so I
Mhm.
started seeking them out and I found one in my town and it was still filled, but they didn't make us go on roof. So I was just like, okay, I'll take it. So that's what the transition was for me. Money was definitely different. Um, yeah, it was a lot different.
But you have benefits now, though, right?
Benefits, tuition reimbursement, 401k, the whole nine.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I
That's
made
good.
that decision solely on, you know, and plus my mother was getting older and I wanted to kind of, when you are deployed, you're going to different cities, states, different times of the year. And my mother was getting older and it was just like, um, I wanted to be I wanted stability. So I did the field IA deployments for a year. And then after that I said, well, I'm gonna plant my roots and I'm glad I did. I made the right decision. That worked for me. Now don't get me wrong. I think about that IA money all the time. I do. I miss it. I do. I dream about it.
Oh my God.
I do.
Dream
Dwight
about it.
knows. Dwight knows. Dream about it.
Do I know?
Yes, but I do like the that I'm home. I'm
Yes.
home, able to, buy a home, plant roots, and still I learned so much out there because when you're an IA, you work with a lot of different people. With your staff, you're working just with the people within your office or on your team, but
Mhm.
it's different, but yeah, that the reason why I did make that decision was I wanted stability, and the roofing thing just didn't do it for me anymore.
I can understand that. That's
Mhm.
understandable. Okay. So, last but not least, for somebody who's listening to you now,
Mhm.
they've gotten a little bit about your story, they know a little bit about the journey. What would, if you had any words of wisdom or advice that you would like to provide, what would those be?
Definitely want to give it a try. Everybody that I know that has come in basically stayed. And the job is really easy to master. You know your policy, you work on your soft skills like customer service skills. Um, and you just step outside of that box of fear because mine was definitely fear. It was, but it was just like this is something told my mother was like, you're going to get on a roof, Deanna. You're going to get crawl on your belly under a crawl space. Yes, and I
Listen,
did it happily, and it was, I can't believe I did it, but I don't regret it. It is, claims adjusting has really changed my life for the better. It has given me financial freedom. um I'm able to take care of my family and buy investments and things like that. So it is, you do it because it's a guaranteed career,
mm,
and that's serious.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Guaranteed career.
Guaranteed career.
Hmm.
Yes, it is. Been taking care of me, I'll tell you that.
Hmm. And
Mhm.
there's so many aspects to it, so many. So like I'm hoping to get more into the litigation portion of claims.
Ooh,
Yeah, I do that now, but that's my preference. So I'm moving more towards
okay.
that part of it. A little bit, it's a lot, a lot more money, a little bit more complicated, but yeah, it's offered, and I'm gonna run for it.
I know that's right.
Yes, yep.
Yes, honey, go get that litigation knowledge so you can run it back to the hive.
Yes,
Yes,
for sure.
we need to know,
Yes.
right? So we can
Yes.
keep ourselves out of depositions.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Ooh, I haven't had one of those since Katrina though, so I'm doing it.
But yeah,
Okay, well,
yep,
thank you.
jump forward and go for it. Just do it.
Yes, yes. You guys hear, Mrs. Deanna? Go for it. Try it. It doesn't hurt. And there was a good point that I think that you made. It's like, hey, even if I don't like right now, you're trying staff. It's like, even if I don't like it, I know you and Dwight said it both. Hey, we can always go back to being an IA. Isn't it? And that's the cool thing about it too, like getting that licensing. That licensing again is good for 2 years. Get your CEs, hold that down. Even if it's something where you're like, I don't think I'm going to be ready for 3 years from now, 4 years from now. But you can take that time to get the license now and take the time in between to get your skill set up, get your training up, continue to do your CEs. And then when you're ready, you can get in. It's always something good to have that you can always bounce back into. You know what I mean? As far as I'm concerned. I mean, that's how I look at it. You know, everybody's different, but it's an option out there for you. And it's different than what we usually get in our community. So let's be honest. Can we be absolutely honest and candid about it? You know, what's being offered to us in our community? What is out there when we go to our community organizations? No shade to any of them. But what's really being offered? What I see is truck driver, administrative assistant, medical coding and billing. Come over here and work at this grocery store. Come over here and become this healthcare worker. Come over here and work at this nursing home where you got to clean up other people's, right? That's what I see. I still see public service worker. I still see low tier. I still see base minimum income and benefits. That's what it translates to me as. I still see us really not in that much of a better position as far as what's being offered to us for employment than what our parents is. Just the 2023 2020s version of what our parents got and our grandparents got back in the 70s, back in the 50s. That's what I translate it as. And so what I see for me personally, my interpretation, why I'm so passionate about this and so passionate about bringing it to my people in my community is I see a better way of life. I see a better appreciation for our hard work and our efforts, right? And a better way to move up, to have that upward mobility, to have that financial security, to be able to pay for private schools and to put our children through college and be able to give them more than what we had, right? And more than, which is all that it is. Like, we are the hopes and the dreams of our ancestors, let's be honest, right? But we can't be that if we don't elevate in some way, shape, fashion, or form. So with that said, I'm gonna get off my soapbox because y'all know how, those who know me, my peoples, y'all know, right? Because these are the conversations that we have even in class. We don't mince words around here. We have a lot of work to do, and we are not done doing it. So with that said, let's talk about what does the claims adjuster do? Okay, so functions and duties. All lines adjusters may handle property and casualty claims, professional liability, hospital professional liability, excess liability, physicians and surgeons liability, aircraft liability, hull, meaning the hull of a ship, inland marine, ocean marine, boiler, and machinery, as well as various types of bond losses. So when we're saying an all lines adjuster, that means that, and that's the licensing course that we offer. That's what it's for. It's for an all lines adjuster's license. And so what that means is that we can hit all lines of insurance. I think the only area of insurance that the all lines license does not touch on, because it's a more specialty field of insurance, is when we start talking about health insurance. Okay. But you can still do workers' compensation. I mean, the possibilities, it's wide open, and it is truly endless. Okay. So some job duties may include. Now, this is not all, this is just some, just to give you an idea of what you may have to do if you decide to become an insurance claims adjuster or an insurance claims professional. So you're going to be responding to those claims in a timely manner. We have a time frame as to which we need to call people back. We need to introduce ourselves when we receive a new claim file. You're going to be communicating with the policyholders, right? You're going to be talking to them directly. If you are not a people person, you don't like talking to people, customer service isn't your thing, it's nothing wrong with that, but this may not be the career for you. I am not here to sell you flowers and roses, okay? And to blow perfume in your face. We want to be really realistic about this, all right? You may have to research each aspect of the claim, including the building damage. You may be working very well on the personal property damage for their couch or their TVs or whatever that was in the house that was damaged, but you still need to understand how the building damage occurred to make sure that it does relate to the personal property damage. If I have a water damage in one corner of the room, why are they claiming items on the opposite corner of the room? You need to be able to understand if that's a valid claim or not, right? So you have to do that research. You may have to deal with what we call extra living expenses. That's when someone's home is so damaged, they have to be relocated to a hotel or maybe even a temporary living situation, an apartment, a short-term lease on a house while the home is being repaired. Okay. You are going to have to prepare some kind of report for their damages. If you're a field adjuster, you're going to have to go out and take photos. You're going to have to measure and diagram, say for instance, the interior, or if you're getting up on the roof, you're going to have to diagram and measure out that roof. Now, I will say this, there are some tools now that are available to us, say for instance, for the roof, where there's third-party vendors out there where we can get those measurements via satellite. Okay. And you don't have to do the hardcore measuring like we had to do back in the early 2000s when we got started, right? But with the interior, you're still going to have to make sure you take those photos. You got to document that damage, right? You got to document it, because what you got to do after that is go back to your office, whether that's your hotel or an actual office location, or to your home if you're working from home. And you'll need to plug that information in to what we call an estimating program that we use. And there are several that the industry uses. There's about 2 main ones that they like to stick with. And you have to put that information in to tell the program, hey, I had 64 square feet of drywall damaged in this living room, and it's got to be removed, it's got to be replaced, and then it has to be painted. And then the program already has the material prices and the labor cost and the trip charges. It already has that in. They have specialists who go out and verify pricing throughout the month, and that way you have the most updated pricing per that person's zip code, not your zip code, not some random zip code somewhere else, that zip code of that area, right? And so that's what generates the check. Is once that information is put in, a report is generated, and that's where the money comes from, right? So you're going to have to do that. You're going to have some computer savviness about you. It doesn't mean that if you're not computer savvy, you can't do this. It means that that's a skill set you need to work on improving, right? So if you're not a good typer, go to a typing class. We've got free online classes out there on the internet where you can learn to type and type faster, right? There are most libraries, local libraries offer some kind of computer 101 class. Those local organizations that I'm talking about, they a lot of times offer either typing classes or computer 101 classes. Learn that, because there's a lot that's going to be coming at you as an insurance adjuster. As Deanna said, yes, it's something easy to grasp. And once you got it, you got it, but you got to get it first, right? And then again, like I said, we want to utilize that computer proficiency skills. So if it's something that you don't have, work on getting it. It doesn't mean that you cannot do this. It just means you got to do a little something extra, right? To make sure that you're on the same level skill-wise as somebody who already knows how to do that, okay? All right, so what opportunities exist for insurance adjusters? So insurance is incorporated, as we said, in all areas of everyday life and business. So as a result, there are multiple insurance policy subjects where an adjuster is needed. In addition, there are varying levels of expertise within each insurance subject. So here are some examples of different types of insurance adjusting. There's auto adjusters out there for automobiles. Residential, right? adjusters out there for not just the structure, but also the personal property items in a residential home. Same thing goes for commercial properties. There are commercial structure adjusters. There are business personal property adjusters, right? Then we have boat and marine, right? There's marine insurance adjusters that deal specifically, and it could be on the kind of personal level, consumer level of those who own boats. It can also be on that commercial level where you have those huge shipping vessels that are out there, right? So there's room for everybody. Environmental adjusting is what we talked about with the BP spills. Trucking liability. You got the 18-wheelers that have accidents, they flip over, whatever the case may be. There are adjusters for that. Technically, that's considered inland marine insurance adjusting. We have, in the case where you have surety bonds, where there's contracts between, and we're not just talking about construction contracts. Say, for instance, a huge construction company like here in Missouri, Alberici is a huge construction company here, and they usually build hospitals. You may have heard of something like Perrick. Perrick is another one that I've seen in the country. That's a huge one. Well, guess what? There's that relationship between said construction company and hospital. It has to be insured. Those contracts have to be insured. That if anything happens or goes wrong, if there's a delay in construction, if there's unavailability of materials, so forth and so on. Poor workmanship. As a result, if there's a claim made, some adjuster out there somewhere has to handle it. All right. That's also the case when we're talking about contracts between entertainers, professional sports players. The team has a contract with said sports player. It has to be insured. Disney has a contract with the actors. That has to be insured in the case that something goes wrong or something happens, right? We've got workers' compensation. When there's a flood, there's flood adjusters out there. There is an adjuster for everything, is what I'm trying to drive home. All right. So opportunities are available for graduates to become staff or independent adjusters. And I like to give information on both. What we mainly do is that adjuster licensing that we offer for our classes is more beneficial for someone who wants to be independent. However, you can still take that, as you can see here with Deanna, and as we're going to talk about with Dwight, you can still take that and end up going staff with the thing, okay? Just like Byron McGee did. An independent adjuster operates as an independent contractor. So as such, when you become an independent adjuster, you by default become your own business owner. You are now an entrepreneur, sir or ma'am. Okay. And so there's a bunch of benefits that come with that, right? We've got tax write-offs that come with that. We've got, you can build up business credit with that, right? You set up an EIN number, set up a company name, so forth and so on. You're on a whole nother level. You're going to have a whole nother level of understanding with managing your finances and building up yourself as a brand. All right. So let's talk about who's next. Is it? We're about running on. This would be Mrs. Parker's time, but it's okay. We're gonna work through it. So with that said, I am going to move on to our next panelist, Mr. Dwight Edwards. Mr. Dwight Edwards, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm gonna stop my share here, and then we'll talk about how our adjusters are compensated. Mr. Edwards.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, hello. Now you have to remind me when you came through class, because please charge it to my head and not my heart, y'all. I cannot for the life of me remember. But Mr. Edwards is going to tell you a little bit about his story, talking about how he got started, right? And then going on to talk a little bit about his journey as an insurance adjuster.
Well,
you have the floor.
Thank you, Charlene.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I came to you back in June of 2017. Traveled to Missouri for the class, got my certification and all. And I've got to let everyone know the best route to do this is actually going through Charlene, and here's why. Anyone can go online and do the certification to get their certificate in order to apply for the license. The problem is when you do apply for the license, and you send that information, and if that information is incorrect, they're sending it back to you and you've just lost that money. They're not telling you what's wrong. They're not telling you what you need to fill out. They're just telling you that you didn't get your license. Charlene's process allows you to guarantee you're going to get your license. So it's worth it. So I say to anyone, that's the best route to go. Now, after I got my license, my first gig was that very year. It was August of 2017. And folks, Charlene was very instrumental in making sure that I got called because I didn't have a copy of my license. She guided me. She said, hey, here's where you can find it. Oh, I found it for you. Here's your license number. Call Pilot. So I had my name on a few, maybe just a couple IA firms list. I got called by Pilot as an IA. So I'm what you call a hurricane baby. I was born into this business due to a hurricane, and it was Harvey. So I got deployed to Texas, but it so happened that they didn't need anyone because it was so saturated and the storm was kind of dying down. And as you know, it was just mainly flood. So they were looking for flood adjusters. I ended up, luckily, Hurricane Irma was brewing in the Caribbean. They sent us over to Birmingham, where we sat and waited for Irma to come through, and I went down there to Florida. So that was beautiful. I was down there in Miami, Fort Lauderdale. It was the best time of my life. I wasn't working, man. I was at the beach. No, I'm joking. But no, it was really intense for me. And like Deanna, it was something new I was embarking on. I didn't even know, different roofs. I didn't even know roofing materials. I didn't know anything about construction. Absolutely nothing. I wasn't scared to climb roofs, but I just didn't know anything. I didn't know what wind damage was. I didn't know anything at all. It was completely dumb. But one of the things that I did was I faked it. And I had to. Because, listen, there were about 300 adjusters down there at the time. There was about 300 of us. And I just kind of put myself out there, just work hard. One of the things that was I found lucky for me was at the time when I was in Texas, going through the whole ordeal of figuring out what they're going to do with us, they had some position open for State Farm adjusters, but we had to do a certification. And so they were asking people, what's your knowledge of construction? And I had none. And I said, but I've worked in hotels. I've been a hotel manager. I've got good customer service skills. And the guy looked at me for about 30 seconds. He said, okay, go in this room. And so that came as an advantage for me because, again, working in hospitality. And I've worked in the hospitality for about 20 years leading up to that. So the customer service skill part of it wasn't an issue for me. It's just learning about housing construction. I don't know what rafters are and decking and sheathing and plywood. I didn't know anything like that. But I got in and, I just worked along people who knew more than I did and tried to figure it out. And truth be told, I was in Florida September of 2017. And they released me in mid-December of 2017. And when they released me, there was only 15 adjusters left after I left. So, it's just working hard and I put myself in front of a lot of managers with Pilot so they can see me and, just create that impression that, hey, I'm a hard worker and I'm willing to learn. So it takes a lot of that to get into this kind of career. So creating first impressions, that's the main thing. And after that, it was smooth sailing. My next deployment was a nor'easter in Jersey. I was only there for a month. But I was lucky enough to pick up another deployment in Indiana. And I worked from May of that year till December in Indiana as a proximity. I was working mainly claims for State Farm. So I worked as a proximity. And what proximity is, you're working almost pretty much as a staff adjuster. They were short staff. They just needed people to run simple claims from backup, a few wind here and there, hail. You would deal with something like a little grill fire that burned some siding. So, I was doing every little thing in Indiana. And so, again, I used that opportunity to learn more and get a grasp of what, what's in the adjusting world. And then as a matter of fact, I was certified. As we talk about roof, Deanna was mentioning roofs. I was a certified 2-story steep person. And so, throughout most of the deployments that I did was running claims for 2-story roofs, not 1-story, which, after about 4 or 5 years of doing that, I decided I don't want to be on no more 2-story steeps. But the problem is working as a one story adjuster, you don't make as much money, especially when you're on the road. You know, your expenses and everything. And I just didn't want to do 1 story anymore. So I tried to do the inside, but I'm a field guy, man. I can't be out there, sitting at a desk all day. So, one thing I needed to add, Deanna, folks, is my sister-in-law. And she actually got me started too. She's the one who introduced me to Charlene and guided me through this thing. So Deanna took a position, as y'all know, with USAA. And she was telling me about the job, the perks and everything. And I said, you know what, let me give it a shot. It was less money. You know what I mean? That IA money doesn't compare. But as a senior property field adjuster with USAA, the benefits kind of outweigh all of that. And here's what I'm going to say, folks. When you work as an IA, I was talking to a friend of mine and I say, hey, the money you make, certain things you don't think about. If your car breaks down, you're not worried about it. You have enough money to go fix your car, and these are the things you don't worry about. But coming over as a staff adjuster for USAA, I'm like, man, I'm going to have to worry about my car breaking down because I'm making less money. But guess what? They give me a car. I don't buy gas. I don't even know what the price of gas is these days. I really don't care. I just drive it and put gas in it. You know what I mean? So, and I really don't think about certain things anymore. So there's still this feeling of comfort working as a staff adjuster for USAA because my expenses are not as great as it was when I was on the road. Prior to going to USA, I had a truck. It was costing me, that truck alone was almost $1,000 a month for note and insurance. Then I was putting $100 every other day in gas in that truck to be an IA. So at the end of the day, I was spending $6,000-$7,000 a month in expenses for that vehicle. So again, IA versus staff, I prefer right now the position I'm in. One, I get to sleep at home. I get to hug my wife every night. You know what I mean? Not that she wants to, but
you better hug that woman while she was over there getting you straight this morning, okay? Making sure your head was shining.
right,
Listen.
right, she was. But that's one of the advantage to working as a staff adjuster right now. The benefits are good. I get a pension come in 3 years. We get a raise every year. As soon as I came in, I got a raise within, I started last August and we got a raise this year already. And, we get bonuses, we get Christmas bonus, the perks with this company. And we're not to talk about my boss. I mean, this is the coolest cat, man. He's just awesome. He's phenomenal. And I was talking to another guy that I met when we were in San Antonio for orientation last August. And he said, and he used to be an IA too, working inside. And he kept thinking about going back to being an IA because the money wasn't as good. But I spoke with him yesterday and he said he changed his mind because his boss is phenomenal. So those things make a difference. USAA really cares about their staff. They really, really do. And one of the things that I enjoy about USAA is how much they care about their members. Now, we don't look, they're insureds, but we don't call them policyholders. We call them members. And they really care about the members because they're serving people who have served this country. And there's nothing greater than going to someone who served this country and did their part and having to go there and figure out, you know what? The difference between the last carrier I was with and USAA is that with USAA, I figure a way to give them coverage. The last carrier I was with figured a way how to deny their claim, but not USAA. Figure a way how to give them coverage than deny their claim. So that's one of the things I enjoy about USAA. And, as Deanna had touched on about, understanding the policy, over these years, you know the policy so well, as you go from carrier to carrier, the policy almost looks the same. The only difference is they may have certain clauses in there that are different, that they will give coverage. Some policy will give coverage for certain things and some other policies won't. But, once you know the policy and master it, your job becomes so much easier. And it's really, people think, man, is this a new venture I'm going to step into? I don't know what's going to happen. I didn't know what the unknowns are. And I'm telling you something, as much as I enjoyed my job working in hotels for 20 years, I don't think I'll go back to that. Not gonna do it. Just not gonna do it. I mean, right now, again, one of the perks is my schedule. You know, I set my own schedule. I go, I get my claims. I, look at my calendar. I don't go out on the road till 11 o'clock in the morning, and I'll do 2, 3 claims and come back home, and I'll be home by 2 o'clock again. You know what I mean? And I'm pretty much done by 4:30 every day. So, because USAA doesn't, push for overtime. They, and they don't give you that much work that you have to do overtime. But this is a busy time of the year. I am actually working overtime now because it's storm season and they kind of get busy, and you volunteer, and of course I'm a volunteer because there's money in it. Not gonna hide that. So that's pretty much my career path and where I am right now.
I think Dwight is being a little honest, a little humble, because I remember like when you became an IA and you were out there in the field, every time, like from the beginning, from your first deployment, there was something about you and how you connected not only to your homeowners and giving them great customer service, but also to management, because you were promoted very quickly and kind of made like that cleanup guy to stay out there in the field. You like, and I would call you like, Charlene, I am still working and it's still doing good. It's still doing good. They really like me out here and I'm just connected with people and all this kind of stuff. So can you talk a little bit more about that? Like how you use your, charisma and your networking skills to kind of, stick around and stay consistent on your deployments.
So again, like I said, back in Florida, it was a situation of just kind of faking it till I made it. It's just putting myself in front of these managers and just being there. There was a situation where there was this couple that were working together who one day they walked into the office. They had what you call a help room where we'd gather, because a bunch of us were new adjusters. So we all needed help. And after we've run our claims, we'd go to this center, and they'd help us write our estimates and stuff like that. And this one couple came in and dropped like 50 files in front of the manager and go, I'm done, we're done. And they just walked out, left their computer, just left. And as soon as I saw that, I looked at one of the managers and kind of like raised my brow at him. And he goes, you want to take over these 50 claims? And I said, hell yeah. No, again, did I know much? No. But again, I felt that it's a way to learn. So that's what I did. I put myself in front of these managers and proved myself, and like I said, I did Jersey after that for 1 month, the nor'easter of 2018. I came home. I called up one of the managers, I would take their numbers, and this is something I should share with folks. When you get that first opportunity of deployment, get a hold of these managers, lock their numbers into your phones. They're your best help if this is a career choice you want to make, they are your best lead to other future deployments. And you want to keep in touch with them and call them up and say, hey, I work with you on this storm. I was wondering if there's any way you can, look out for me and get me on another deployment. So what I would do, I would call these managers, one of them, and I said, listen, do you guys have anyone that I could go out and run claims with and get more, knowledge in becoming an adjuster? So they paired me with this other experienced adjuster. I was his ladder assist him with his claims. And that way I figured out, more things about the adjusting. And it's a great way to learn more, learning Xactimate, understand, because again, I was running for State Farm. So it's understanding their system, how to use it. And therefore, this was a way of how I got into that, put myself into having that opportunity to be ahead of the pack. My last deployment, I was in Ohio. I was there for like a year and a half. I think I was tired. I just had enough. But I was running claims in Cleveland. I was running claims in Cincinnati. I was running claims in Toledo. So they sent me in different spots. And it's because of the managers with State Farm. So you have your pilot managers who govern you day to day, but then they report to these State Farm team managers. But the team manager in particular that was over me, he really, really loved the way I work. As a matter of fact, he would call my manager. One day my manager called me and he said, Dwight, what are you doing in Ohio? And I'm like, what do you mean, what am I doing in Ohio? Did I do something wrong? He told, no. You know, you have your TM. No, he said, yeah, you have your TM calling me, telling me that he's using your files to train his staff. I'm just like, what? So, you know, it's the situation is to, you know, expand on what you're saying. It's actually learning. Every time you're there, use it as a learning opportunity. Don't ever think I'm an adjuster and I know everything. As an adjuster, you will never know everything. Because I guarantee you, there are times I go out on inspections. And when I was working for Pilot, we have a group of guys that you can call and say, hey, I was out on a claim and I saw this. Can you come, you know, log into my computer and look at these pictures? I'm not sure what this is. Do you guys know how you do the repair method on this? And I'm telling you, at least 90% of the time I call these guys, most of them, and they've been these adjusters that have been there for like 20, 30 years, would look at me and go, I have no idea how you do that repair, Dwight. So as an adjuster, you've never learned everything. You're going to constantly learn more each and every day. Never think of yourself as, I know it, I don't need any help. You're going to need help every day. And you have to take that, you know, come with that that humbleness every time you're on a deployment, every time you're working, that you never know everything. You're going to always need help. And trust me, you may know I don't call for help anymore, but I still go with the impression that I don't know everything, and I'm gonna run into something that I'm just not gonna know what it is or how to repair it. It happens, you know. So that's to answer your question. Just go with humility at all times. It goes a
Mhm.
long way in this business.
I love that, Dwight. Thank you so much. So listen, I don't think wiser words could be said when we come to networking, and like Dwight was saying, get to know your managers, get to know the leaders, get their numbers plugged in. And again, he volunteered for 50 claims. Who knows what he was going to get with those 50 claims, right? That was already assigned to one adjuster, and
It
or
was too much.
husband and what, two adjusters, husband and wife, and it was like, we can't do it. And that's what I mean about that high turnover rate. And it's something that I tell, especially if you're going to go out into the field, for the folks that we train that have gone out to the field, you know, I'm usually getting calls within a week or two saying, I want to quit, I can't do it. And I would tell them, listen, you're going to feel inadequate. It's going to make you feel very insecure. You're going to feel like, I can't do this. And I said, listen, you haven't even got your first check yet. Get your first check first. Get first couple of checks. Give it 30 days. Give it 45 days. And usually by the end of that kind of 30-day mark, I check on them because I ain't getting those phone calls again. I'm like, how you doing? Yeah, I'm good. I'm getting it. You know, it's like, okay, I do. You just give it some more time. But a lot of people, again, I like what Dwight said is one of the benefits of getting again, you can go and get your adjuster license through anybody. Okay, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to come through us. But one of the benefits about coming through us is like what we say, we call it our TPAS family. You have family here. You have people here. We are a resource for you. I have gotten calls at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Charlene, I can't figure out where is the line item for a sliding glass patio door. Help me, please. But that's the thing. You have a network that you tap into here. And if you feel like giving up, you can always call any of us and we will push you. We will encourage you. Jeff Foster is known for that. You know, we can always say, Jeff, can you call so-and-so and help them with, they can't figure out X, Y, or Z, right? Or I've even had some of my people connect with Che Muse, right? And he's like, oh, okay, I can help them with this and this and that. And he'll even ask me afterwards, like, hey, how did so-and-so do? They all right? I'm like, yeah, they stuck with it. They still here, you know, whatever. So you really have a real network here because we really have a heart for we want to see you win. We want you to make it. We are only as good as you are. We are only as good as our adjusters. And I think that's a huge difference between the other organizations that may be out there who train and just leave you to your own devices, right? Or if you do an online training by yourself, self-study, yeah, it's super cheap. Yeah, it's like $200. Absolutely. But then what? What do you do after that? So yeah, that's the cool thing. So we're gonna move on. And I'm gonna share again. and we're going into the next chapter. So how are insurance adjusters compensated? You've heard Mrs. Deanna hitting to it. You heard Dwight hitting to it. Nobody has given out real numbers yet. All right. And again, because it goes beyond the money. Okay. And everybody can tell you that. Yes, like they were saying, yeah, that IA money was good. But for them right now, with their place in their life, the staff adjuster option is the road that they have decided to take. So you're like, but wait a minute, what is the money? Then what is it? Okay, so how an adjuster is compensated depends on their job position. Okay, so for a staff adjuster, and again, some of these numbers might be a little bit. Oh, so Deanna and David, if I am and Dwight, if I am wrong, I said David. If I am wrong, please correct me on this, okay? Because of course, different carriers offer different compensation packages. So I tried to find kind of a good median level when I talk about like a base salary rate versus what you can go up to. So if you're working as a office adjuster, if you're a staff adjuster in the office, and again, there's a lot of virtual opportunities now because of everything with COVID. So those staff opportunities are both those virtual opportunities are both on the staff side and on the independent adjuster side. So for staff adjusters, my research came out to, you can start off with a salary as low as 25,000. Again, like I was talking about Byron McGee, I think he told me he started off at like 30 or 35,000, but now he's making upwards over 100,000 because now he's been promoted to management, and that's with potential earnings above 50,000 a year. I know I got to fix that just with Byron McGee alone, but of course he's in a management position. And then if you're field as a staff adjuster, you can start off somewhere at a base. And Dwight, I know you're still doing field staff, so let me know if this is right. At a base rate of about 50,000 a year on average, with potential earnings above 75,000. Does that sound right to you too?
Potential earnings above
Deanna said no.
But that's starting it now.
That starting is too low. So what would you
Too
say the
low,
starting
yeah.
is for the office folks?
Well, for office, I did office.
Mhm.
The starting is like when I was with AAA, 55.
Okay.
Yeah, for starting.
I'm way
Yeah.
off then.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
and then because I'm still office,
Mm-hmm.
so our max is 115.
Okay, 115. All right. Now, is that because of your experience that you came in with it, Deanna, or is that for anybody with no experience at all?
Well, no experience would be you would start off as a staff desk.
Okay.
Staff desk is about 55.
Okay. Okay, good. AAA's got some good numbers.
Yeah.
And then Dwight, what about in the field for staff?
In field, you start off at about 70, 75.
Listen, and then what can you get up to? Do you know what kind of you can cap out at as a
You
senior?
can cap out at about 130.
Okay. That's good numbers. So I stand corrected, everyone. All right.
And again, everyone, remember, as a staff adjuster, you get a car.
Right.
They buy your gas. If
Mhm.
you actually also volunteer to do cat work where you might have to travel to different states, you get bumps in your pay for that. They'll put you up in a nice hotel. They send you your equipment. They rent you a car. So the meals, they pay for your meals. You get a per diem. So all these things add up in the end. Okay, so you have to look at it that way, and not just if I'm not working from home. Yeah, if you just want to work from home, I'd say 75, maybe even $80,000. Is where you'd start at. But if I did cat. I've done just 2 weeks of it, and it makes a difference in my paycheck. During that period. So I volunteer for it just to make that extra money. I've heard of another adjuster just recently doing a cat storm, and he was out there for like a month. I only did 2 weeks, but he was there for a month, and he made an additional $15,000 for the month. So
Okay.
your earning potential can be definitely six figures if that's something you're willing to do. Maybe and they only put you out there for maybe a month and a half. They're not going to keep you out there longer than that. And so
Right.
if you do that twice a year, you can make an additional 30,000. Add that to 75, 80. You're hitting six figures for that year.
Okay. Okay. And again, Dwight came in as a senior field property adjuster. So again, and this is AAA. where both Dwight and Mrs. Deanna are in.
USAA.
So, excuse me, USAA.
Yeah.
So, again, every insurance carrier is different. So if those are the numbers that you're looking for, then go with them. Okay. All right. And then I do have on here that if you're employed as a staff adjuster, you are eligible for benefits. And for a lot of us, that makes a huge, huge difference. All right. Now, as independent adjusters, and I think I'm still right on these numbers, Mr. Muse, I'm sure will correct me if I am wrong. Because a lot of things have changed with how independent adjusters are paid. We used to be paid, and some of us are still paid now on kind of like a base day, what we call a day rate. Now they have been switching over to like an hourly rate. So it still ends up to me when we equate the hourly dollar amount and then equate for the overtime with the hours that, because we're usually working 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, 10 hours a day. That's what we call 7/12s or 6/10s. So usually once that's all calculated with the OT, it still kind of comes out to these day rate amounts. So there are some $20 an hour jobs out there, $20, $23, $24, $25 an hour jobs out there for independent adjusters. And so based on when I last did this, which I need to now, I'm gonna have to redo all this, but based on when I last did it, at the lowest, I have seen day rates at $200 a day for independent office adjusters, and that could be independent in someone's office somewhere in the country, or now independent working from home. So you're an office or a desk adjuster, but you're doing it virtually from home. And then you can earn up to $400, sometimes $450, $500 a day. Versus in the field, usually those hourly rates can break down to about $400 a day on the low end, and your earning potential can go above that $1,000 a day kind of mark. Now, again, when we were at that $1,000 a day, that was when we were being paid in a specific manner. That's when you're paid, that earning potential comes into play when you're paid based on what we call fee schedule. And that depends on how many claims you close that day and the dollar amounts for the losses for each of those claims, where we end up getting paid like on a schedule. Like if your claim damages were between, say for instance, $0 to $5,000, then that fee schedule, and again, it depends on each carrier and the different relationships they have with these different independent adjusting firms and those contracts. You know, you can get paid, say for instance, $350 for claims between 0 and 5,000, and then you can get paid, I don't know, for claims between $5,001 to $15,450, and that's how it would work. And where our money comes in is we usually get paid a percentage of, so that billing fee per the damages that estimate came out to for that claim, we get paid not that entire amount, but a percentage of that amount. So what it has been in the past traditionally, and it is changing. Now, that's something I don't like about the changes on the independent side. That's a whole nother, we'll save that for the podcast that we're working on bringing out. But what does happen is that usually as a staff or a desk adjuster, not staff, but as a desk adjuster and you're independent, typically traditionally we had been keeping 60% of that. And if you were independent field, you were keeping 65% of it. Some of that is changing. There are some firms out there now that are taking more off the top from the independent adjusters, which we call for short the IAs. Some are taking a little more from the top, and I think IAs are left with less than what they deserve. And that's a conversation that needs to be really had amongst us as a group of IAs. But that's usually traditionally how it has been, probably for the last, even before I became an adjuster, probably for the last 30, 40 years or so. And so I've been seeing now that as I'm talking to the different people that I've trained, it has changed a lot, where there is less that is being given because the IA is taking more, the IA firm, the independent adjusting firm, is taking more from that percentage. But as an IA, when you're starting off, even if you're at, say, instead of 60%, you're keeping 57%. Go ahead and take that now. Get your experience. get your knowledge, get your skill set up so that you can get yourself in front of opportunities where you are going to be paid more, where you can work longer, where you can take more of a percentage. You will even get to the point where you will reject jobs. You will get a call for a job and you can say right there when deployment calls you, okay, what's the rate on this? And they'll tell you, and you say, that ain't enough for me. Okay. And I've done it several times. I have turned down $30 an hour. I've turned it down because I'm like, I've been doing this 18 years. I'm an expert in my field. You just about can't tell me nothing. I'm not accepting it. I'm not accepting anything less than 45. I'm not accepting anything less than 55 an hour. Okay. I'm at that point. You ain't there yet, but you'll get there. And when you get there, you're going to be like, no, I'm not taking that. Or if you don't want to deal, Dwight made a good point about this particular carrier that I was working for, and as an IA, this is what they were about. And I didn't like that. I like USAA because they're about paying. These other people were about denying. And that's another thing. If the values of that company doesn't match up with yours, you have the option to say, not going to do it. And here's the thing too. This may be a means to an end for some of you. It doesn't mean that you have to do this and stick with this. Folks like myself, like Deanna, like Dwight, like Che, we found our love and our passion in this industry. But your dream may be something else. You may want to open up your own auto repair shop. Your real dream may be to be an actor or a singer, or to have your own clothing boutique, or to, I don't know, have your own bakery or your own delicatessen. Whatever the case may be, you use this as a means to an end. You use this as a means to invest in yourself, you can live it, right? So that you don't die with your dreams inside of you like a lot of our ancestors did. So that's what this is all about. Okay. So we stuck with it. You don't have to stick with it. It just so happened that I became so passionate about it that the talents that come naturally to me fits perfectly for this industry that I'm in. And so boom, here you go. Here I am telling you all about it and sharing this experience with you all. Okay. So that's just now. Muse, am I correct on this independent adjuster, these amounts, or has it changed? Because you're closer to it than I am.
Yeah, that's not a big problem with it because it varies so much. Like this year, 1,000 daily became more common. State Farm did a $67 an hour deal where 1,000 daily, just working field claims by the hour, became a reality for a lot of people. But there's not a big problem with this chart.
Okay.
I do remember friends of mine 500 daily in the office. A lot of 500 daily, because it just depends on what's going on in the country. You know, there's a need, and you'll see those five. I actually worked at $800, and that was the most I had ever worked. It was an at-home assignment, commercial assignment. It was at 800. That was the most, and that was this year. So it changes. It goes up and down, but I think as inflation goes, I think it goes up from here. So you know, I think it's pretty accurate. I think I don't have a problem with your with your scale here.
Yeah,
Charlene, what were you going to say, Dwight?
Just to piggyback on what Shay's saying, and he's right. And again, remember I said I actually got myself certified to become a rope harness, because when you have that certification and you're doing 2-story roofs, you're getting paid $70 an hour.
Exactly.
And folks have to understand you're actually working 84 hours a week. So you're getting paid 70 an hour for 40 hours, and then you're getting paid time and a half. So add 35
for
to
the other
44,
70, right?
For the next 44 hours.
That's right.
But again, a percentage of that goes to the IA firm. But at the end of the day, you're making about $600 a day. So, you're getting a paycheck each week of about 35. I've heard some guys getting up to $4,200 each week. So.
Yep. And of course, it depends on, what your taxes are, what you're claiming. Depends on how much tax is coming out. But yes, absolutely. I was just out in the field this past summer, last summer, spring and summer. And I think after taxes, I was bringing in about $3,500 a week. So That was good for me. And I did that until I was like, okay, I'm through. I don't want to do it no more. I got tired because I'm getting old. Okay, when I started this, I was 25. I'm 43 now, going on 44. All right. I might have to make a decision soon. Nah, I take that back. I ain't ready to go stab. I take it back. Now, here's the thing. Piggybacking on what Dwight said and what Chase said also is now you're like, dang, that's a lot of money as an independent. Yes, it is. But remember, there's no benefits. If you're independent and you're in the field, your equipment, the cost of your equipment, the maintenance and gas on your vehicle, all of that is an out-of-pocket cost. However, you are now a business owner. So those items are write-off items for taxes at the end of the year. So for instance, with me, in my time of being an independent adjuster over the last 18 years, actually my cousin, who is a master accountant, had to tell me, I think it was last year, he was like, technically you're a millionaire. And I was like, huh? And he was like, you've made over $100,000 for more than 10 years. I was like, dang, I didn't think about it like that. Right. And I am single, no kids, head of my household, and I get money back every year because of the write-offs. Okay. So, and I ain't talking about just $100, $1,000, $2,000. No. I get back over $5,000 usually every single tax year. Now that's me, but I also have a business, right? I also have the training company, and we also have another company, Contents Adjuster Team, which is our independent adjusting firm. So there's a couple of things I got going on as a business owner, and I have a lot of business owner expenses. So just keep that in mind. So yes, your hotel is going to be out of pocket as an independent. Your vehicle, gas, maintenance, out of pocket as an independent. Your food, out of your pocket as an independent. But again, there is a way. Che has been independent. He's about to tell his story. He's been independent this entire time. And he has, I don't want to tell. He's got several businesses. I won't get too deep into it, but he's doing well. All right. And he's got people that depend on him, and he's been able to be very, very successful. It's been very lucrative for him. So with all that said, just keep all that in mind. We want to keep it real for everyone. We don't want to, again, tell you a fairy tale. So it just all depends on what works best for you. It's just to get you this information so you know that it's there. All right. Before we go to Che, really quick, I'm going to go to what is required to be an adjuster, and then we will go to Che and we'll wrap it up and go to tell you about what the classes are that's coming up for the rest of the year. So all of this, you might be like, okay, this doesn't sound too bad. So to be an independent adjuster, you must be licensed by your resident state. That's the state that you live in. Now, not every state offers an adjuster's license. So if your resident state does not issue adjuster licenses, you can apply with a licensing state as a non-resident. So we are located here in Missouri, and what we train and teach on is the Texas All Lines Adjuster's License, because states like Missouri, Illinois, Tennessee, there's so many of them, New Jersey, there's about 16 or 17 states out there that does not offer an adjuster's license. The Dakotas, they don't offer a license. There's a bunch out there. So once licensed in Texas, a non-resident license can be applied for based on what we call reciprocity rules in other states without meeting their pre-licensing requirements. So the Texas adjuster's license is the most popular adjuster license in the country. In order to get a Texas adjuster's license, you have to be 18 years or older, a U.S. citizen, or if you're not a U.S. citizen, a legal alien who possesses a work authorization from the U.S. Immigration and Naturalization Services. You have to complete an adjuster pre-licensing course. We do offer that, and pass the Texas state exam. We offer the exam during our course. Complete the Texas insurance adjuster license application and submit it with the application fee. And then the license is good for every 2 years, and you have to renew it. And actually they just changed. Did y'all hear Texas just changed their ethics? We have to have 3 hours of ethics now. So 26 hours of continuing education every 2 years. And that is supposed to include 2 hours of ethics. They just changed that literally, I think, beginning of this year, end of last year. So now it's 3 hours of ethics. And I'll tell you this, coming from the one who is now a insurance conference circuit speaker, the insurance conferences is a good way to get additional education and get your CEs out the way all in one whop. All right. So with that said, I'm going to stop this. We're going to move on over to Mr. Che Muse. I was going to give your middle name, but I'm not. So
Why
Che
not?
Muse and I,
That's okay. It's okay.
it's a good name. Che Edgar
Yeah,
Muse. Okay.
yeah, that's the
Um,
name. That's the name.
so Che Muse and I met back in, it's been too long, friend, 2005
Mhm.
during Hurricane Katrina. We were working all state contents down in
Mhm.
Orlando, Florida.
Yeah.
And we was like, if we were fresh, we were new, we were green, and we are, it's a group of us that kind of gravitated towards each other, Che Muse included, and we just kept each other in touch with each other over the years. And so I'll give a little bit of Mr. Muse's story, just a little bit. I just got done training his nephew last month. So he
Yeah.
has
Yeah.
been very successful in the business as an independent adjuster. Again, told a little bit about the business. I won't tell all the business, but and he's got lots of friends and family that are in the industry now. So Mr. Muse, please
Mhm.
tell us about your adjuster story. And again, like we were talking
Mhm.
earlier, I know you a little bit of it. I know a lot of it during the process, but
Mhm.
how did you essentially get in it? Because Che is actually from New Orleans, Louisiana.
Yeah.
So what happened? How did you find out about it?
Yeah, it was during Katrina, and so we were impacted. My family was impacted by Katrina, so we're scrambling. We had to get out of the city, and I had just purchased two homes. My mind at that time, I think I'm 34 years old at the time, and I was just trying to buy a house, get into real estate. That was my out. I had an auction license, so I went to the auction, bought cars and flipped them, and you pay bills, but you don't, it's a struggle doing that. So I was doing that. I was waiting tables in '04. That was a part of it. So I was trying to get money from different avenues, and that's when the storm came. And I just closed my houses. My brother was an agent. My older brother, my mentor in real estate. He was a agent down there, so he guided me through. He taught me how to close a property and make money at the closing. So that's when you can do that. Back in the day, when you can do that. So I had the most money when Katrina hit. I had some money in the bank, and it was about $10,000, and that was the most money that I had accumulated at that point. And I thought I had made it from $10,000. I said, "What?" And then Katrina hit. I lost all my cars, all my inventory, and I just spent the money. Some of the money I was making, I put it into the cars. I said, "I'm gonna flip these cars." I got better cars and everything. Went to the auction instead of 10-year-old cars. I said, "I'm gonna get some 5-year-old cars. I'm gonna flip them." Trina hit, took all that away, and then that was August in 2005, and so the family had to relocate very quickly. Lost the rentals. Luckily, I had insurance on that, and then we were displaced first to Houston, and then we there's a lot of family we have in Atlanta, so we wound up in Atlanta. So September's good because everybody has a little bit of money, and then when you have that insurance, they give you the 20. We're gonna give you $2,500. You get that up front until your claim is settled. Well, Katrina didn't open up for a year, so there's no more money coming from the houses. You get that $2,500, and then there's nothing else. And then, like I said, we're smiling. And then in September, we really have nowhere to go. Everybody's trying to figure out the next step, and then the money starts running out. And even the successful people, the people without, everybody from New Orleans, their money's running out, because there's nothing coming in. So September is kind of wiping that away. But towards the end of September, we're panicking almost. What do we need to do? Let's go get a job. I didn't know what I was going to do. I just say, well, I'll get a job and maybe try to get into real estate out here in Atlanta. So I had some friends, some high school classmates who were successful in Atlanta doing real estate. So I said, well, I'll tag along with them and see what happens. And then Red Cross. There's a lot of different Salvation Army, Red Cross. There's a lot of different institutions that were helping New Orleans people at that time. So my family was in the Red Cross line. My sister-in-law, my brother, I have another older brother. We're all in the line. We're just trying to get whatever we can just to make it through until until we know more about what's going on with New Orleans. At this point, we're not even sure we can go back. It just looks bad. So we say, well, we got to start anew. So anyway, my brother's on the phone. We're in the Red Cross line, and my older brother, he's just on the phone, talking on the cell phone, and I just hear him say, 385 a day. And we're in the Red Cross line. So I got into this business by accident. My older brother saying, yeah, this firm called Pilot, they want me to be in Florida to handle some claims at 385 a day. I said, man, I wish I could go right now. I could use that. I wish. But I thought you had to have experience in real estate and know about structure and all that. But my brother, he just handed me the phone. He said, hold on. He told the pilot, I guess it was the recruiter. He said, just hold on. Somebody wants to speak to you, and handed me the phone. And I got the phone, and I'm like, hey, how you doing? I said, yeah, give him my name, date of birth, and say, yeah, have you had any real estate experience? And my brother was like shaking his head. Yeah, tell him yeah. So yeah, I have some real estate experience. Well, can you be here in 2 days? Yeah, it's going to be 385. Is that okay? Yeah, that'll work. And so I was on my way to Florida. I hung up the phone. I said, man, what's going on? Dink, I have no experience. What do I need to do? He said, oh, man, you bought a house. So that's enough experience right there. Come on, let's go. Let's see what's going on. So we got in the car. We packed our cars, 2 vehicles, and we got to Florida. First, we were supposed to be field adjusters. So this is my first experience knowing that this industry could be topsy-turvy at any minute, because we were supposed to be going to the field. Was headed to be field adjusters in Florida, and at the last minute they say, no, all of you guys, we need you guys to go to Lake Mary. Go to Lake Mary, you're going to be in office. Is that okay with you? Still the same pay, but you're going to be in the office. We said, yeah, let's go. So that's when I got into the office, met Charlene and her mom, met a lot of folks, people I still know to this day and talk to this day. And that's when when Dwight said, just go into this room, it brought it back for me, because that's exactly how it happened. Just, hey, they make a quick evaluation and they say, come on, we need bodies. We need warm bodies at that time. Mind you, Florida had gotten hit that year as well. And then Katrina came, so there was a big need for adjusters. So I was just lucky at the time. We're unlucky, but then we're lucky at the same time, the way I got into it. And from there, I think we lasted till April 06. And April 06 was when I think I got cut before Charlene, but I got cut, I think, April 06, and was like, wow, what's next? We were making like $2,500 a week, and I had never seen that type of money constantly. Every Friday, my account is hitting, catching up on everything, catching up on bills. Now, mind you, I still have some real estate property, and then I'm waiting on the settlement for those. And so in the back of my mind, I said, well, I'm going to go back into real estate. I'm going to go ahead and get back into it. That'll be my out. At this point, claims is still not a long-term goal for me. It's cool, but I'm still thinking real estate is my thing. And so I get cut in April in 06. My adjuster, he came out. This is my first experience with an adjuster, with a property adjuster. He just came out to the house. He stuck his camera through the door, because that's how messed up the houses were in New Orleans. He stuck his camera through the door, took a picture. He said, I'm totaling you out. He didn't even come in. He pulled up in the van, him and his wife. He didn't even go inside. He said, I'm totaling you out. I said, okay, cool. That's good. So I'm thinking I'm going to take this money and go and rebuild my house, and then parlay that into, getting more and more houses and continue my real estate career. That's what I wanted to be. I just wanted to just get into real estate. I had some friends that were successful in it. I just wanted to get in it too. And this was the biggest money that I knew about. So I said, let me focus on real estate. So that's my mindset. But at the same time, while we're in Lake Mary, and people say, well, we want this money forever. How do we keep it? And all the older people were telling us, get your licensing, get licensed. So that's when we all got the Texas license pretty much at the same time. That's back in the day when you had to show up, you had to sit in there 3-4 hours after working 7 to 7. we wanted it so bad. We went to licensing class from 8 to 11, I believe 8 to 10, 8 to 11 every day for about 2 weeks to get our Texas license. That's when you really had to show up back then. And we paid the fees. It was like $1,000 back then. It was it's very different.
It was
And we
high.
paid our fees and got into the Texas class. So, but we did it, and it was a good move because that was my first and only license. So I had that Texas license, and got cut, like I said, in April 2006. Returned to New Orleans, fixed up my rentals, had a nice little stack of money. I'm saying it was the most money I ever had. I said I got my payouts from my house. Everything's paid off. There's a lot of different programs, and then I'm getting into real estate. But keep in mind, this is 07. Now when I fixed my house, this is 07, 08 now. Real estate is taking a turn at that time. So it's not good. The investments I made, let's just say I didn't do well. So I got into real estate pretty much at a bad time. So it brought me back to claims. And I said, well, let me get back into claims because here comes Hurricane 2008. I think that Hurricane Ike in Houston. So this was really my next work. And I worked Hurricane Ike in Houston. I didn't know him. I didn't know much. Like I said, I only had the contents desk experience. And I said, well, but I'm going to go for it. My brother and I, we took a class, a quick adjusters class. It was about a week from Bell National. And it's a dwelling estimate class. And we got certified in that about a week. It helped, but it still doesn't prepare you for what a hurricane. And, I got 14 claims when I got to Hurricane. All I had was 14 claims. And I knew how to take photos. I knew how to, talk to customers. Hey, this is what you can expect. I still didn't know how to use Xactimate. So, like the wife says, I had to fake it, but you really can't fake Xactimate. You can't, either you know it or you don't. So I'm sitting on here. I tell all the customers because they told, hey, it's gonna be 2 weeks to 30 days before we have an answer. So in 2 weeks to 30 days, man, you just know it goes so fast, and still those claims were not written up. I didn't have the estimates done for these folks, so that was a big deal. And now all the managers are calling me, hey man, what's going on with these estimates? We need them. I still don't know how to write an estimate, and there's not the type of help because this wasn't Pilot. This was another firm. Didn't have the type of support that somebody like Pilot or some of these firms they have it. They provided for you in the hurricane. No, not this one. So I took the 14 claims. They wound up having to take them back from me. They say, man, at least we got to take them from you. Can you send me your photos? You're not going to get paid, but just, we really want to help these customers out. We don't want somebody going back out there to take photos. Can you send them in? So I sent them in, and then there's another manager on that chain. He sent me back a message, man. It shows character that you would, you take no pay, but you still sent them the photos. It's going to help us a lot. You sent them the photos and measurements. Sorry, it didn't work out this time. But I thought about, when they said no pay, I thought about saying, man, hell, I'm not going to take my time even to send the information in. I'm just done. I'm on to the next. But I sat down and actually sent the photos off. Well, the way they wanted them sent, I learned more about Xactimate while I'm exiting this assignment, sending them the photos. This was the first time I really opened up Xactimate, and somebody had to show me how to put the photos in so I can send them to the company so they can complete the claim. So that kind of opened the door, weirdly enough, to Xactimate. So I wanted to learn more. I wanted to really get into Xactimate and learn. I didn't want that to happen again. Like I say, 2008, Hurricane Ike was just a bad and good storm for me because I learned what not to do. I learned you have to be extremely prepared. You want to know what you're doing. You can't just run out here and just run claims, especially without the support. So let's see here. And so, I also worked for FEMA. I took on some FEMA claims. Look, there was a lot of work going on. So I got on with FEMA, made some money there, got some more experience just going out into the field and taking photos, dealing with customers, learning about structure and the way FEMA, the way they look at settling a claim is so different from where an insurance carrier would. So I learned that. I'm just gathering all kind of knowledge at this point. And at that point in 2008, like I said, I had the real estate monies, but it was dwindling fast as well. So I just needed something. I said I needed something to I was at a loss because I had made some money and it was all dwindling, getting money and then it would dwindle down again. And then I took a rope and harness assignment, and that pretty much changed everything. I took a rope and I didn't know anything. I said I need to learn this. Renfro called. Renfro called and said, "Hey, it's not a big deal, but you can make about $1,000 a week. Would you like this rope and harness assignment?" I said, "Yeah, I'll take it." The manager who called me was the manager who gave me a little grace about sending in the photos, and he recognized my name. He said, "Oh, let's get this guy in here to do the rope and harness." So this is maybe a year and a half later, and he remembered my name. And he said, "Hey man, come on, you get some training over here. I'll pair you with the guy, and you can learn the business." Now, at this point, I think I'm in the insurance industry 3 years, and I still really don't know how to do the field. Now, we come in here thinking that we're going to go into the field and make all this money because this is what we hear. But I really wasn't prepared to do that 3 years in, now 4 years in, because this was 2010 when Renfro called and said, "Hey, we want to pair you up with a guy," and you go out. And it's in Georgia. Go to Georgia. You work with him for 30 days. And this guy taught me everything I didn't know, and it was amazing. 5 years in, and before I really got it. So that's why training is so important, and who you learn from is so important, because it just clicked with him. And he happened to be the grandson of a KKK, the Grand Wizard of the KKK. It was his grandson. And he imputed all that into his grandson, because I pull up, he had the Confederate flag going. It's in North Georgia, and then I got in his vehicle. He said, "Yeah, man, you're gonna be the ladder. You're gonna be the ladder person right now. So you just look and learn." And this is how he's talking. Now, mind you, my mother's a Panther, so we're in this truck working together for 30 days straight, and with these different ideals. Some real conversations in his truck. I could say we had those, but at the end of the day, it was the money that he was making, and then the money I was trying to make. All that just went out the window. He did his job well, and he taught me everything I would learn. He really put me in the game with that assignment, and then on from there. And this is all weather based. The weather really affects our business, because right after that, here comes Hurricane Isaac. I get a commercial desk adjuster's job. Now, I'm really not qualified for this, but I get the job, and it's in New Orleans. I say I go to New Orleans again, and this is 2011, and I worked there for about 30 days as a desk adjuster. I'm like, okay, I did well, and they offered me $50,000 a year. So I'm thinking about, man, all this running around. 50 doesn't sound like a lot, but it's stable, and I'm at home, and I can do it. So I told him, yeah. I said, "You know what? Give me the 50. It'll be about $1,000 a week." And it just was a peace of mind that I had when I took that assignment. About a week later, Hurricane Sandy hit.
Oh,
and I said, yeah. I said, yeah. I told these people, yes, I'm taking this $50,000 job. A week later, Hurricane Sandy hit, so my phone is lighting up to go to New York. I said, man, I just told these people, I just committed, but I really want to go to New York and try to use the skills that I learned working with Renfro as a ladder assist. So I called the manager to the side. She was late. She was understanding. I said, man, I got a chance to make some money. I just told you yes. Will you hold it against me if I go to this assignment? She said, no, go ahead. Because if she'd have said, no, if you go, you can't come back. If she'd have said that, I probably would have stayed. I probably wouldn't have gone to New York. But she said, go ahead. Good luck. I understand. Go ahead and make your money. And I did. That was the best assignment I ever had. I knew what I was doing. I was organized. I had learned everything from this rope and harness guy. Everything clicked. All my mistakes came up. Everything clicked on that assignment. And I was hooked from there. I made money that I never had made before. And I never been home. I never had a drought. I never had to worry about money from that point on. It was just and it was all hurricanes. This was all hurricanes. Had those hurricanes not happened, who knows? But the demand is what gave me those opportunities. So you can bank on the weather. There's one thing about this job. It's really all it is. You got to bank on something. You can bank on that weather, and that's why we have these opportunities over and over and over again. So when you talk about the roof, and Deanna had brought this up, why she because that almost was that was a barrier as well for me. But I just got taught when I was scared of the roof at first because this is a rope and harness assignment where I learned to climb now, and I didn't go up for 2 weeks. The guy did all the work. He would come down and I would learn how to label photos correctly and put the estimate in. I didn't go on those roofs. They didn't require it. One day I just got tired of him going up on a roof, walking the roof like a squirrel, and I'm just looking. And so one day I got to the edge of the ladder. I said, I'm getting on. So I got on. I'm looking around. This is 712. Nothing big at first. It's a 712. I said, let me catch the valleys. And he said, oh, you're coming up, huh? So he's almost like making fun of me, like, man, you still scared of this roof. But it took me 2 weeks. But in a week, I was comfortable. I don't know what it was. It just clicked. Just watching him be so confident walking the roof, my fear just went away once I did it a little bit. And then, so I don't have that fear anymore. Just the basics. Just say, hey, be mindful where you are. Stay 3 points of contact when you're getting on the roof. Those type of things helped me. So I no longer had the fear. It just went away just like that. So that was big and key because when you go to New York and Hurricane Sandy, you need that skill because every other roof is a monster. Every other roof is a monster when you work in that New York area. The territory I was in, Parsippany, New Jersey, 1412, 1212. You got to figure it out. You got to, and I gained that confidence working with this guy, and it was not a problem for me. So I worked that assignment. I was one of the last to leave. Made some good money, and then I was hooked from there. It was a no-brainer for me. But I did get respect for the staff adjusters because that's when we learned the difference between staff and independent adjusters. I think you remember Camille, one of our fellow adjusters. We're sitting in the office one day. She say, look at the office, and look when the elevator opens and everybody comes into the office, you can tell who's staff and you can tell who's independent just by the look on their faces. The staff came in and was so calm. Everybody, you could tell in the face, and we were right every time. That's staff. Well, that's independent right there. That's the independents came in disheveled. The stress is on their faces. They need the pressure, and the staff come in and just they have the files. Everything's neat. Roll a bag. You can tell who's staff is independent.
They be stressing us out.
Remember what all I know is independence. But from that storm, everybody, a lot of us anyway, switched over to staff. It was just an easier life, and we understood we respect the staff at that point, because all you think about is the money. You don't think about the lifestyle and the peace that you have when you staff. But fortunately, I was able to work some IA gigs that gave me that staff-like peace because it wasn't as demanding, like the proximity that Dwight talked about. I had a few of those, did well, and hey man, come on back. No pressure, and you don't hear from a manager unless there's something big. So that proximity, in my experience, became like a staff position. I was able to get some stability to that. So I've been fortunate in that. It didn't have to happen. I just, like I say, it was the weather. I was very fortunate the way it fell. And so I try to tell folks how to create what kind of just happened to me, you can create that for yourself, just getting all your licenses, getting those licenses. When OGs told us, man, get your license, but we didn't, they cost money. And so when you're between storms, you're not really going to keep your licenses up. But due to a weather event in Indiana, I happened to work for a firm called Best IRS. They were coming on the scene. They were trying to make an imprint in the industry, and they decided they were going to pay for all the licenses for all their adjusters. Any license they could pay for, they were going to do it just to retain the adjusters. Now, mind you, I had only worked for IRS maybe a month. I took the assignment, worked about a month. They paid for all the licenses I didn't have. So, which was good for me because I never had a drought after that. I was getting calls, man, hey man, you want to come to Minnesota? I didn't know anything about, yeah, you got a Minnesota license. We need you over here. I said, okay, I'll come. Hey, we need you in Colorado. We need you in I worked Ohio. I don't think you need a license. Wherever that state is in that area where you need a license. May have been Indiana. But I know I've worked a lot of states where I wasn't even thinking of it. But Best IRS paid for all those licenses. So licensing that's a key element of this game. Stay licensed, and it'll be very hard for you not to work. It's very hard. It'll be very hard at that point. And yeah, I mean that's really my story. That's my story. And from then, it's just been a lot of rope and harness assignments. I got lucky. New York and California, like I said, they went to $67 an hour on the special assignments.
Yeah, New
That's
York
70.
and Cali.
Yeah.
So I'll be specific
Yeah.
about the money because it goes. But that was the most I ever made as far as a hourly job was $7,200 a week. That's before taxes. After taxes, it's about $5,400. Every Friday, just and then all right, so you could do something with that. It was so last year I did that, and I looked at the W-2, but you don't know where that money goes because, like I said, we pay our own hotel,
Right.
we pay our own gas, and
So,
the W-2 says 405,000, but I really haven't tallied how much of that is really mine in
wait,
terms of
pause, but wait.
Yeah.
And I know everybody that's listening, we're past the 2 o'clock mark. We got started a little late. I apologize. We're gonna wrap it up, but hold on, Muse. Back it up. You said the W-2, you talking about the 2022 one?
2022, and that's the most I ever made was 405. That's what the W-2 says.
That's what
It's
W-2
not all mine. It's not all mine. And I can tell you that right now. It's not all mine because the expenses go up, taxes go up.
Yes.
There's New York hotel, New
Ooh,
York
geez.
gas, Long Island. There's hour
Mhm.
drives to get to those claims. So you got to factor all that in. But it still was something to see. It's still something I had never seen before. And I know I did well. And I could feel it because the way I was living. I'm flying my kids in,
And
with,
you just bought a house in Detroit. Stop playing.
yeah, hey, those things are happening, but you still don't really know what you're really making until you
Yeah.
sit down and do your paperwork because
Yeah.
you're too busy to. You're too busy to kind of sit down and really make it make sense. But when you do, you say, okay, yeah, I made some money, but you spent some money too. So
Mhm.
yeah, without being overly talkative anymore, that's my story. That's my story, and I hope that helps any of the listeners. But it is good to get in. Attitude is the main thing, as Dwight alluded to. Your attitude is it. And I've trained some folks who didn't do well. They just, they run up against a barrier and a blockade, they fall, and that kind of takes them out. If you're that person, then this may not be for you because I could have, man, when they took those claims from me, I was down. I was like, man, claims ain't for me. Let me get back into real estate heavy. But somehow I got back into it, and here I am.
All right, now I think you just wrapped it up real good with that. You done gave us the words of wisdom. You done gave us some good nuggets in there. And that was awesome. Thank you so much for sharing, Muse. Thank you. So as I wrap it up, let's go back to the last page here of our document, and then we'll wrap this thing up. So if hearing all of that has your interest piqued, which I'm sure for some of us it does, then your next step is what? You got to get into a pre-licensing course, and you got to take it and pass the exam. So this is what we recommend. TPAS LLC recommends the Texas All Lines Adjuster license as the first step to becoming an insurance adjuster. It is the industry's preferred license for Texas residents and non-residents. The Texas All Lines Adjuster License Pre-Licensing course is approved by the Texas Department of Insurance. It also satisfies the Texas Department of Insurance pre-licensing course and exam requirements for obtaining the adjuster license. Once you complete the course and pass the exam administered by TPAS, you are then eligible to apply for your Texas All Lines Adjuster's license. Only the state has the permission to actually issue the license. So once the course is done and you have your certificate of completion, all you have to do, there's a few more steps. You got to get fingerprints done, and those are done electronically now. And You just got to go to their facility, and then you can go online, apply for your license, and usually it takes about, it's been taking now like less than a week for it to come back. All right, so our next adjuster course, we actually have one coming up March 27th through the 23rd, and that goes till March 29th, March 20, I said March 22nd, 27th to 23rd. March 27th of this year, 2023, going to March 29th of 2023. We've got one coming up in April. Basically, there is one coming up pretty much for every month, with the exception of August, because that's my birthday month. So we have a course for April, May, June, July, September, October, November, and December. So if you want to get in, get it on in. And I just want to say, for anybody who needs a copy of, excuse me, this that I've been reading from here, this form, this document that we created, our adjuster career information packet. If you need a copy of that, and you have not received it via email when you received your meeting invitation, just send me an email, and I will get that over to you. And the email that you will end up sending that to is C as in Charlene, and then my last name, Hoskins, HOSKINS at tpas.llc. Again, that's C as in Charlene, or for military alphabet, Charlie. Hoskins, HOSKINS at tpas.llc. All right, and I will give you a copy of it. I want to thank once again our panelists, and I apologize. We had one more panelist. We could not get her in, but that's okay. We'll hopefully get her in on one of our workshops in the future. We've got a live workshop in Chicago coming up next month on April 8th. Some of our panelists will be connected live on that one. Some will be connected via virtual. And I would like to just thank the panelists that you guys heard from today. Mrs. Deanna Purifoy Long, unfortunately, she had some issues and her line disconnected. She just sent me a message letting me know of that. But I just want to say thank you for just sharing your story and being open and letting people know, like, hey, this is what I'm doing, this is what I did, and this is how it happened. Thank you so much to Mr. Dwight Edwards for sharing his story as well, giving all that information, because there's something that goes on in our community where they say we don't talk to each other, we don't share, we don't network, and I would like to change that. All right, so we're going to talk about what we do, because there's just not enough of us around anyway to handle all these claims, so there's no point in keeping it close to the chest. And of course, thanking Mr. Che Edgar Muse. I said, everybody, you the only one that middle name is mentioned. But thank you, Mr. Muse, so much for it feels like it took me a minute to tie you down on one of these. And so I'm so glad that I have you do it, because your story it's awesome. And especially from you, with you being from Louisiana, not only getting into this because of the damage, but you were a victim of the damage. You suffered it. You were right there at ground zero. You know what that felt like to be in those lines, like you said, to be relocated. And I think that story is just extremely powerful, and how you went from that to where you are now. Super adjuster is what I would put your classification in, as well as business owner. You have your business on Turo, where you provide cars and rentals on Turo. You have your real estate business. You just bought your house in Detroit. You got kids that's going through college and all this kind of stuff. And I mean, you are just an example to definitely look up to, and definitely a role model in our community and in this industry. And I just thank you for the hard work that you are doing, and that you continue to do for the people that you bring in, and that you influence, and that you help, and definitely for our clients and our insureds and our policyholders and our policy members, that you continue to help and give excellent claim service to. So we appreciate you. Thank you all for joining us. If you have any other questions, please feel free, like I said, to email me. You can also call the business line at 1-877-466-6698. And does anybody else have anything they want to say as last words before I let everyone go? I take that as a no. All right.
I said enough.
So thank you all. We got jokes. It's okay. I'm just making sure I'm not leaving anybody out. So thank you everybody for sharing your couple of hours with us here on this lovely Saturday afternoon. And hopefully you get to spread the word and tune in for the next one. Bye.